What is up, people? It is me, Monster58, and welcome back to another video review. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Transformers Studios series Bumblebee movie, Shockwave. Now, this isn't obviously concept art, as Shockwave was definitely one of the most prominent appearances that we saw at the beginning of the Bumblebee movie in the Cybertron scene, which was really freaking amazing, and I have to say, I loved Shockwave's design. I loved pretty much all of the major designs that they did when it came to essentially reimagining and modernizing the G1 designs into something live action. Very, very cool stuff. Very, very cool with Shockwave here, so I'm very, very excited to finally have this figure. I know that this figure has some controversy due to one thing that is definitely true, but I want to say right ahead of me saying and talking about that it really isn't actually as bad as people think it is, and I'll address that more when we talk about it. But taking a look at the box here, we do have the nice Transformers Bumblebee right there. We do have the nice artwork there of Shockwave. You also have the Transformers Studio Series Shockwave number 110. Do have the Transformers and then the Generations. Takara Tomy is obviously also up here. We do have the nice artwork here of Shockwave here on the side. Studio Series 110. Voyager class. We also do, by the way, if I said deluxe class, I absolutely meant Voyager. I'm just thinking about that right now. I'll see that in the edit. You also do have the nice Autobot logo there for the Generation stuff. More nice artwork of Shockwave here. And then we do have the nice obligatory product shots here on the back. And the display base, I believe, is just the scene in Cybertron where he appears and in addition transforms in 22 steps. But I think that is really about it for the box as per usual. And so, without further ado, alrighty, folks, here we have the Transformers Studio Series Voyager class Bumblebee movie Shockwave in his tank mode. And I gotta say, guys, this is cool. I mean, at the end of the day, like, we've seen Shockwave as a tank in many continuities. We've seen him in Transformers Prime. We've seen him here in Bumblebee. We've seen him in the Dark of the Moon movie with the, well, not in the actual movie, but as the toy, right? We saw all of those have him as a tank. Transformers Prime, obviously, is the other big one. And so it's really cool to see this. Now, whether you like the actual design or not is obviously subjective, but personally, I think it's neat for a Cybertronian tank. It takes design ideas from Transformers Prime as well as the Transformers Dark of the Moon live action, and it sort of melds it into with the G1 design, and we end up with this. And overall, I think it looks pretty solid. It's also relatively large. Like, this is a pretty big tank mode for a Voyager figure, and surprisingly, it rolls well despite having just those little, you can see it has just these like little wheels here on the front and the back. Other than that, that likes to come undone. That's one thing about the hose about this, is that it doesn't stay in the best. That's one of my minor critiques of this figure, but for the most part, it stays in just fine. But yeah, you can see, taking a look at the details here, you can see the very nice, you do get the tank treads right here, which are very nice. You get the nice purple paint. It looks gorgeous, by the way. I love, it's a very deep, rich, royal sort of style purple, and I absolutely love that. The the tank barrel also kind of moves, not all too much, but it moves a little bit. You do have the nice gunmetal gray here. All of this awesome. I mean, look at that, all that molded detail. That's awesome. Through here, this will become his thighs, so really nice stuff. Here's some more nice molded detail here on the purple. Again, more of that gunmetal. You do have some more nice molded details here as well, so those look very nice as well. Overall, I mean, even on the bottom, it looks perfectly fine, and I mistransformed it just a bit with the tabs there. These need to be tabbed in like so. Just want to do that. Yeah, there, that's better. Sorry about that, guys. I thought those were tabbed in. But for the most part, overall, this is a really solid tank mode, and I have really no complaints about it. And we'll take a look at the barrel, actually. You can see all the nice molded detail there in the barrel. You can see the gun part of the barrels. The tank barrel's really, really nice here. Just very, very cool overall. Again, I really don't have any major issues with how this guy looks in his tank mode. I guess the only thing I'll say about it is, again, if you don't like the design, you don't like the design. But overall, I think they did a pretty awesome job, especially for the fact that this guy rolls well. So that's a real big plus. So I'm going to set this guy off to the side here. And I realize it's not in the same line, but here he is with the Transformers Legacy United Deluxe Class Infernac Universe Magnius. I've been using Magnius as sort of a benchmark of a scale because he's the easiest to transform, and I have him right on my shelf behind me where I film, so it's very easy for me to grab him off the shelf. He's like right in the front row. I can transform him quick and do a comparison. I know it's not Studio Series, but let me be frank with you. I don't want to transform Megatron right now. It's been ages since I transformed the Studio Series Starscream and Soundwaves, the Studio Series Bumblebee Soundwaves vehicle mode is kind of like it's nothing really. It's just like a brick. So I don't want to really show that. But at the end of the day, I hope that, I'm trying to contrast the different figure lines. And obviously, at the end of the day, we've seen Earthrise and Siege and Kingdom all scale with Studio Series. Like when they released the Studio Series 86 stuff, like we can't deny that they all still relatively scale within one another. And so I think this is a solid scale just to show you how big Shockwave is. Like, look how long he is. He's huge. You can see just the comparison there. And then we're going to put, I'll even put magnets like this. You can see the actual massive size difference between this Deluxe as well as this Voyager. Like, Shockwave is a very good-sized Voyager, and I'm very, very happy that that is the case. Like, we don't really get figures, honestly, this big anymore. And so without further ado, I think that's really good for the scale. So overall, I am happy with it. Alrighty, folks, and time to get into the transformation. And when it comes to the transformation, it's really simple, actually, and that makes it fun to handle, and I enjoy it. Now, some people may complain it's not very intuitive, and that is something I can totally understand, but when it comes to this, honestly, I am a-okay with it being super simple, and I just enjoy messing around with it. I've had this guy on my desk for, the past, 5 or 6 days. I've messed around with them a decent bit, and so overall, really solid stuff. So, let's get into it. So, first thing I like to do is you can unplug the barrel here, and then what you're going to want to do is you'll see this tab here. You can just flip it up like this, and then you'll see this becomes a tab in and of itself right there. So you can just set that off to the side, which is really, really cool. Now what we're going to do is we're going to untab the legs, and then we're going to rotate the chest part up, and then you're just going to bend that up as well, and then we're going to take the legs and get those out of the way. So just rotate them in like so, do that, and then on the back you're going to want to fold the feet down, and interestingly enough, you're going to want to take these little tread sections, rotate them around and push them back in. So pull them out, rotate them around and push them back in, and there's the bottom half basically finished. After this, you're going to want to flip this part up, and then you're going to flip the head. So I'll move this up. So again, it was like this. So it was like this. So you're going to want to flip this up like so. You're going to flip the head like this. And then you're just going to want to take the chest and just push that in and tap it in. Then what you're going to want to do, untab the arms, rotate them down like so. Do the same thing here, rotate it like so. And then after this, all you got to do is fold out the hands. Well, untab these, rotate these around, and then untab that, rotate the hand out. Now, there is another hand on this side, but because of the way Shockwave is, I don't like necessarily to untab it, so I'll just show you that there is a hand in there. But I'm not going to actually do that, because all you got to do is you take this, and then you'll notice on the side of his arm, there is a hole there, and then that tab I showed you earlier just very easily just slots it right into place. Sometimes it actually is a little bit annoying to line up, but there we go. And ladies and gentlemen, here we have the Transformers Studio Series Voyager class Bumblebee movie Shockwave in his absolutely fantastic looking robot mode. And so, folks, when it comes to his robot mode, oh my god, this guy is an absolute smash hit when it comes to the robot mode. Like, this looks really, really good. And like I said at the beginning of the review, when it comes to the modernization of bringing essentially the G1 designs to life in a live-action setting, this looks amazing. It is, again, a great modernization of that G1 design, still retaining what we knew about the character and how he looked in the original cartoon, while giving it some nice modern updates to make it look like it belongs in live action. And I gotta say, yeah, I honestly have nothing wrong really with this robot mode. The only major criticism, there's two, and one of them is honestly a nitpick. There's a lot of gray, right? There's a lot of gray, but Shockwave was just purple and gray in the original cartoon, so that's why I can very easily forgive this. But the other thing we're going to talk about is no bicep swivel. That is the big thing that everyone keeps talking about, and we'll talk about that when we get into the articulation. But let's look at the details here. Taking a look at the head, you can see the head. Oh man, it's really flat and it's really long, but I honestly really like it's flat and wide, excuse me, and I really like it that way. The light piping really isn't all that great. You can't even really tell that it has any, but it does look really, really cool. That nice, the nice yellow eye. You have the nice gunmetal gray. These are not sharp. These are like softer rubber ish type plastic. They're like softer plastic, essentially. Think of it like that. Overall, really nice head sculpt. Going down here to the chest, The only thing about the chest is I wish there was a painted Decepticon logo here, but what are you going to do? Still looks nice with the transparent purple plastic. Having the nice molded details here that we saw in the tank mode. Some more nice molded details here for the abdomen area and for the crotch. Taking a look at the arms, those look cool. They have some little amber accents here as well, so that you guys have those, or amber or bronze, whichever you want to go. All that other detail comes out here. And he does have that battle damage. I did not address that in the vehicle mode. He does have a little bit of battle damage, but it's not really as oppressive as like what we saw with Siege or anything like that, so honestly it looks fine. Gunmetal gray here for the thighs, like I told you in the tank mode, and then we do have some more nice molded in details. Again, this all just comes out here, but overall, I mean, taking a look at this guy looks absolutely fantastic in his robot mode, and I honestly have really no major complaints with the robot mode besides that, you know, lots of gray thing in addition to the bicep swivel. So we'll get into that when we get into the articulation, but we're going to do some comparisons. So I'm just going to push this guy off to the back. I'm going to set him right there. Alrighty, folks, here we have him with Soundwave, and yeah, Soundwave's actually a little bit shorter than Shockwave here. I do like how Shockwave has this intimidating and imposing presence to him. As you can see, he is a bit taller, not by too much, but he's about half a head taller than Soundwave is. But yeah, you can see these two look great together, obviously, can't really complain. Next, here we have him with the Voyager class Studio Series Bumblebee movie Starscream. If you have the Thundercracker mold, you guys will understand how big this guy is in comparison to Shockwave. But yeah, these two look great together as well. Starscream, again, just like Soundwave, is a bit shorter than Shockwave, despite them both being Voyagers. Again, I like how Shockwave has this very imposing, very bulky, big presence, despite being essentially like a scientist, which I find is really, really cool when it comes to his character. So, very, very cool, very awesome scale. And the one comparison that we can't deny that I really wanted to get here is obviously with the Leader Class Studio Series concept art Megatron from the Bumblebee movie. It's a real shame we didn't get to see Megatron in the movie. I would have loved to see even just a couple seconds of him saying something to Optimus. But at the end of the day, these two scale very well together. Shockwave in the original cartoon, and honestly, I'm guessing in the show, because we never, or in the movie, because we never saw these two together, that this would be about the scale that they would, you know, have. You know, if you look at the G1 cartoons, all the Decepticons that weren't like, so the big three, Soundwave, Shockwave, and Megatron were always about the same height. Megatron being a slight bit taller. Now here, you can see that they are pretty much the same height. I would have liked for maybe Megatron to be maybe just half an inch taller, or a couple, centimeters taller. Would have been nice to see that, but these two still look great together, and I'm very, very happy with that. And of course, guys, I couldn't deny that we had to have a big three comparison here, and these three look awesome together. You guys can see Megatron, Shockwave, and Soundwave all have a nice presence with them, and again, this is the big three, right? The big three Decepticons that we all know and love. I'll see if I can move that so you guys can see Soundwave's head. But yeah, these three look absolutely amazing together, and I cannot wait to display them like this on my shelf. I already had obviously Megatron and Soundwave. Going to be awesome to add the big bad himself, Shockwave, to that collection. So very, very cool to see these three all together as a team. Alrighty, folks, and time to get into the articulation. And honestly, like I told you at the beginning of the review, the lack of the bicep swivel really isn't all that awful, because although I do agree with a lot of people saying that it's a modern figure, it should just have it by default, I completely agree, but it does not hamper this figure as much as you would actually believe it would. Honestly, it's really, really still solid articulation. It's about average, but that's not bad at all. Like I mentioned in the Sideswipe review, just because it has average articulation doesn't mean it's bad, because average articulation these days is pretty damn good. Again, the only major thing missing is that bicep swivel. So getting into it, the head is on a swivel, so you can get a full 360 with that. You do get a full 360 here at the upper part of the shoulder. You do get an elbow rotation, and then you do get 90 at the elbow. You obviously do get full waist articulation, which is always really nice. The legs can, so these can go back, and without any inhibition, these can also rotate like that. The legs can kick forward about that far. They can kick back about that far. You can also get a 90-degree bend at the knee. You'll have an upper thigh rotation, and then you have a rotation at the knee, which is kind of weird. But other than that, you also have okay ankle articulation. And the one thing last I'd like to show is he does have a very big lack of a backpack. The only thing that's really there is the hose. And keep in mind, you're going to have to actually The hose comes separately, so you can technically unplug the hose completely from this. But yeah, obviously that's iconic to Shockwave, so I'm not going to do that here. But yeah, solid articulation all around. Again, the lack of the bicep swivel does hurt, right? There's certain places where it does hurt, certain poses that you wouldn't be able to pull off. But it does not hamper this guy as much as you would think. He still has really solid articulation all around. And alrighty folks, and with that out of the way, let's get into the reverse transformation, which is just as simple as getting him to robot mode. So, let's straighten them all out first and foremost. We'll get that all straightened out. First thing I'd like to do, make sure the head is straight. Make sure that is straight. Then, just unpeg this, and I will show you can just transform him with it hanging off like that. And then all you got to do here is just flip this down instead of flipping it up like you did when you're transforming him to robot mode. Then take the hand, you can flip that in like so. And then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to rotate the forearms so that they're facing the back. And then what you'll notice is that there's this little tab right there, and that there is a little tab slot right there under the back of the top of the forearm, and then you're going to just want to fold that back as much as possible. So again, rotate this around like so, and then just make sure that those line up, and then you should get this. Then what you'll see is that here on the back there is this little tab right here on the back, and then you do have a slot on the inside of the sort of the elbow right there that will peg in. So you're just going to want to rotate this back and peg those in like so you can see that. Do the same here. I'm going to rotate and peg that in like so. And then from here, what you're going to want to do, make sure that the head is straight. We're going to do the legs. So you're going to want to flare them out like this, bend them in like so. Do the same thing on this side, like that and like that. Take these treads on the back, pull them out, rotate them around, push them back in. Same thing here, like so. Then fold the feet. Sort of spread these out just a little bit so you have some room. Unpeg the entire chest. Rotate it like so, and then you're going to want to bend this part of the chest down like so. Rotate this all the way around, and then you can sort of flip this part of the chest down like this, and then fold this all the way out like so. And then what you'll notice is on the bottom, there's this little peg slot here, and then there's a peg on the inside, like right here. You'll see right there, there's that peg right there. You're just going to want to bend it enough so that you can get it to be like so, and just make sure that that peg lines up with that little slot on the bottom of the figure like this. And then this should line up this where you can see that there are those peg holes and then the pegs on the side, and then you can just do your best to line this all up. This is the trickiest part of the transformation in my opinion. Peg those in, and then very simple, fold the head. So you should have it like this, fold the head in like so, and then all you got to do, set this all down, rotate this around, and peg this in. So you have that peg there, you have that big hole with this part here, and then all you got to do is tab that in like so. Make sure you sort of flatten this guy out a bit, make sure everything is touching the ground. And ladies and gentlemen, here we do have the Transformers Studio Series Voyager class Bumblebee movie Shockwave back in his absolutely awesome Cybertronian tank mode. And so guys, for my final concluding thoughts on the Transformers Studio Series Voyager class Bumblebee movie Shockwave, this guy is a really, really, really solid figure. Like, I have really no major issues with this guy. So, let's get the bad out of the way. You can argue there's a lot of gray, but I argue against that, saying that when it comes to this figure, the original design had a lot of gray on it too, so it's very faithful to that, but still all of the detail makes up for maybe the monotone gray that there is. In addition, the lack of the bicep swivel, although I will still take some points off for that, at the end of the day, that doesn't hamper this guy's articulation as much as maybe people thought that it might have. Also, even though he doesn't really come with any accessories, the major accessory he does come with is his tank barrel as well as the hose, very iconic to Shockwave. So at the end of the day, although that those are some drawbacks, he's still really, really solid. So good stuff. The paint looks great, like that deep, rich royal purple is absolutely fantastic. The on-screen accuracy from what we saw in the Bumblebee movie is also really amazing. In addition, despite the articulation only being average, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Just the lack of the bicep swivel is a really big thing that hurts. In addition, just the silhouette, the profile, the size of both the tank mode as well as the robot mode make this guy feel very imposing, make this guy feel very, very cool, and a really great modernization of the original G1 design mixed in with a bunch of other continuities like Transformers Prime, The Dark of the Moon, right? All that stuff. Really, really amazing stuff, and I'm absolutely very, very happy that I have this guy in my collection. So if you guys definitely started collecting the Bumblebee movie figures, and you've got Soundwave, you got Starscream, you got Thundercracker, you got Megatron, or even if you just have Soundwave, Megatron, and Starscream, definitely consider picking this guy up to complete that big three of Megatron, Soundwave, as well as Shockwave. Honestly, he looks great amongst his kin, and I'm very, very happy to add this figure to my collection, so I wholeheartedly recommend you go and pick this guy up. Out of a 10, got to give this guy an 8. Again, there are some drawbacks, but honestly, not all that much. He just feels good, he looks good, and he just fulfills his role and his part as Shockwave. He just looks like Shockwave and exudes Shockwave in every single way possible. So I did pick mine up on the Big Bad Toy Store, so I'll leave a link in the description to that. I'll also leave links to both Amazon as well as Hasbro Pulse, so you guys can also pick it up at those retailers if you guys prefer those. In addition to that, if you guys are going to be looking for this guy IRL, I do wish you the best of luck. He should be hitting retailers relatively soon. Not exactly sure, maybe within the next month or so, maybe month or two, depending on how fast or slow your stores are. I definitely wish you the best of luck if you do wish to hunt this guy IRL. But with that, I think that is about it. So I thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch this video. Please like, comment, rate, and subscribe. Share this video with your friends. Also follow me in the socials. Those will be linked down in the description below. And with that, guys, once again, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video, and I will catch you all in the next review. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. Peace.